All right, welcome to Camp Content. We're coming in hot once again. It's me and Matt live from Heartcast Media, and we have a special guest today. Please welcome Maryanne Lombardi. I'm really excited that she's on the show because Maryanne is probably one of the most interesting people I have ever met in business. Her background and experience makes her a rare gem in business and artistry. I met her when she was working at the 202 Creates program, which was a program ran by the mayor's office where she fostered an incredible amount of artists on their journey to independence. What makes Maryanne really unique is that she spent a lot of time both on the microphone and behind the microphone and putting microphones in other people's hands. So she had a creative background as a jazz singer in New York, directing films and doing other things, and then came to DC and worked with the mayor's office to really create systems in which those creative things could exist. But what made her different is that she really got it. She was the first person in the government that I ever met that actually understood what it meant to be an artist, what it meant to be a creative, but then also knew how to really navigate those systems, which are largely foreign to anybody who is a creative. She's done amazing work with the 35th Annual Mayor's Arts Awards and the 202 Extra, but it doesn't stop there. You know, what she has done over the last 20 years in working with artists and creatives and businesses and the local governments is really outstanding. What makes her even more special, and I know I keep saying that, is Maryanne is not afraid to make change. So, you know, to identify as an artist and to leave that and work with the government and to leave that, it takes a lot of passion and courage to really get up and do those things, which is why it makes her the perfect person to be a business launch coach who primarily is focusing on transitioning teachers right now, because who knows better than how to navigate out of the system and into a system that can support you more sustainably than Maryanne Lombardi. So I know I'm gassing her up, and that's because I know her personally, but I really am always impressed with the work that she's done, the work she's doing, and how she's helping people, and just how she can frame things in such a creative yet functional way. And I think if you want to run a business, you have to be equal parts creative and you have to be ambitious, but you also have to be realistic. And that can be a hard road to navigate. So having said all that, please welcome Maryanne Lombardi to the show today. How you doing, Maryanne?
Well, I'm doing great. Yeah, you know, I sound pretty awesome compared, you know, thank you so much for that hype.
Awesome.
Can you come with me all the time when I need to sort of like hype myself up? Can I just ring you up and be like, yo, Molly?
I got you.
Yeah, come pump my tires.
I got you, man.
Yeah, pump my tires. Let's get going.
But I mean all those things. I really was like, when I first met you, I was like, wow, like you're super cool, but you're very business and you're government and you understood how that works. And I just don't think many people know how to go from creative to such an incredibly limiting environment. I mean, let's you know, being an entrepreneur is easier, I think, than working in the government because at least you can do what you want, right? It might not work and you might face a ton of backlash for it, but at least you can do it, right? In the government, you're very limited in what you can do. And so I think that level-headedness and creativity is just such a unique combination in most people. So
yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I feel like all of it is really about seeking adventure and challenge for me. Like I'm always been attracted to where the adventure lies and where the challenge lies. And so whether it's entrepreneurship or working within these strict government sort of environments, it's figuring out like, what is the box, right? Like governments have a box, they have boundaries, but how do you work within those boundaries and then also press against them in order to make real change? And I think entrepreneurship in the same way has its own box, right? It has its own boundaries. And so you have to figure out what those are for you personally, as well as the environment, the system of entrepreneurship. And then how do you work best within them? And then how do you push those boundaries to do your best work?
I love that so much. And that's really what it is, because that's what you're doing. You're pushing boundaries. Like, you know, if in any job, if you want to succeed, you got to push a little bit, you know, in the government, you got to push a lot. And as an entrepreneur, you really got to push because there's nobody else making you show up to work. You just got to do it. Right. And so there is that incredible push that needs to be there. I love the spirit of adventure and challenge. I definitely can relate to that a little bit myself. So, you know, interestingly enough, you definitely use a lot of video in your content marketing. You are a video maven. You are all over the place, and you are doing video in different ways. You're doing it on your phone, walking down the street, and you're doing it on LinkedIn Live, and you're also doing it in our studio, and then producing, you know, with subtitles and all that. So you're really coming at this thing like 360 degrees at every single angle. So I'm curious to see what kind of result, like, or what inspired you to do video in the first place. Let me start there.
Yeah, well, I've always loved video. I mean, I think that for me as a storytelling tool, I think it is the most direct that I have. And I'm comfortable on video. Like I like video, and I don't like the having anything in between me and the people that I want to talk to and I want to serve and that I want to get to know. And I think that face-to-face opportunity, if I don't get to sit in front of you face-to-face, human to human, like in the same room, there's something about video that feels really present. It feels very authentic. It's something that you can't hide behind, And so I really appreciate that opportunity to be as authentic as I can be and to just connect with people in a really real way. And video allows you to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Especially you always have like your dog in the background or you're walking down the street. You're not like waiting for the perfect moment and you're not in a studio. Everything's not scripted. And I think that's really valuable because I think a lot of times people think, like don't let perfect be the enemy of good. It's one of my favorite quotes. But I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to get on camera because I'm not feeling good or I'm depressed today or my hair doesn't look good. But it's like, yeah, but that's life, right? And I love this movement now of like, TikTok and Instagram and shorts where people are like moms are in their mom buns and not wearing makeup. And they're like, yeah, this is what I actually look like without filters. And I think we need more of that, especially in business, because if I'm going to work with you, I want to know who you are. I want to know how you feel about stuff. I want to know just those little glimpses in your life of like, your dog, the fact, like you letting your dog on your bed. That says a lot about who you are. For real. I let all my dogs on my bed. Not everybody does. That makes me like you a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and I think especially in this entrepreneurship space, I mean, I got into entrepreneurship and jumped out of government because I wanted to have control over my life again, right? Like I wanted to have control over my time and my attention and how I spend it, who I spend it with, right? And who has access to me as well, and part of that is to live my best life. If I'm doing this, why would I hide those things, right? Like this is who I am, right? It's a wonderful freedom to be the person that you want to be, the person that you are, right? And to live that way. And as an entrepreneur, I get that opportunity, right? And if people don't like it, well, all right, to each their own. But I think that is one of the amazing opportunities that entrepreneurship provides you is that ability to just be your damn self. Right. And maybe it's partly figuring out who that damn self is, right, with it too. But and part of my life right now is I'm a freaking empty nester, right? I got a dog that I love more than anything on the planet. Not more than anything because I like my kid more. Right. But but still like this is a
cool.
part of the life I'm living right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. So in all these videos that you're doing, what are you seeing? What's the data showing you? What kind of results are you getting? Is it, where are you posting videos? Let's start there. What platforms are you using?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is my primary platform, even though we're on everywhere else, but it is always where I start because that is where my community is. That is where the audience and the clients are really for me right now. So I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and that tends to be where I start. But we also cross-promote on Facebook and we cross-promote on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. And we just started a TikTok, so we're learning that TikTok space. And as we're going, we track everything, right? Like we post things out and then we look at that data every couple of weeks and we go, okay, what is performing best? And the answer is different compared to the platforms we're on, right? LinkedIn performs certainly differently than say YouTube or TikTok or, so we make adjustments as we go on when we look at that data. But video outperforms almost everything. One of the things I like about LinkedIn is that there is a nice balance between written posts and video content. Mm-hmm. So, which I think is great. Yeah. Whereas other platforms are definitely trending so much more into video being the primary, the thing that is really working the best.
Yeah, exactly.
And your video too is very short, sweet. Just to go back on everything, you're very, because we know this because we do, your videos, you're very much right now, not because a lot of the videos you do are, why wait? Why do this? Why wait? It's like, do it now, do it now, do it now. And like I said, they're short, sweet videos, kind of in your face. I love it because it's just like the one recording session we did, it's like, if you're with me, just say fuck yeah. And I'm just like editing, I'm just going fuck yeah.
I know, same.
Fuck yeah.
Same. Exactly.
So I guess just, I don't know, talk about, because like you said, it's why video is so much more helpful, and especially with entrepreneurship, like why the right now mindset and aspect is so important.
Yeah, well, I would say why not, right? I mean, time just
Yeah.
ticks by, and it just keeps on going. And it's very easy to say, well, maybe someday, or I will, or, I could. But, and in my view is that why don't we just get it done now, right? Like there is no better time than now to do whatever it is that you want to do. And that doesn't mean that you have to ditch your whole life and move to Costa Rica and buy a dog, right? Like, but you could do that, like both of us have.
I didn't
For
buy
now.
them.
But-
They just showed up, just for the record. They just appeared on my property.
Yeah. Right. But there are little steps that we all can be taking to improve our lives, to improve our financial situation, to be able to wake up in the morning and be like, you know what, I really want to be here today. I really want to be doing what I'm doing today. So I always think, why wait for that moment? Why do you have to wait for that moment? Because who wants to be waking up and going like, oh shit, it's Monday again. Now I have to go do this thing where, my bosses aren't giving me the support I need. Some kid pushed me down the stairs and, like I feel crappy. And, why would we be doing that to ourselves day in and day out? So I say now is better than later.
I'm looking at your YouTube channel, and I'm looking at the shorts, like compared to the videos, and it's pretty, if you really look at those numbers, you're getting really, significantly more plays on the short videos than on the longer videos, which is the same thing that we're seeing on our channels and our clients' channels, that shorts are like a real opportunity to get in front of a new audience.
Yeah, I think shorts are a great opportunity. We're trying to make sure, though, that we balance things, right? Because we want the shorts and we want people to be coming in and taking quick looks on things, because people consume in a quick way like that. But we also care about that long form, because the long
Right.
form is how people really understand what we are talking about and teaching. So we do find that the long form really is an opportunity for folks to be learning. And so that works really well for us in our email when we're sending that to people to, they're wanting to learn about boundaries. They're wanting to learn about how do they actually start a business. We have this content, this educational content that is more long form that they can go back to and look
Right.
at. And I think also, when you're trying to attract clients and you're trying to build an email list and you're trying to build sort of this database, video is actually an incredibly good way to do that. We have tried like 852 lead magnets, but the thing that works the best for attracting emails is the replays of our live videos, right? Because we do these live videos every week, and for the people who can't attend live, they say, yes, we would love the replays. They are happy to give us their email, and then we can email them out that video after the fact. So I think having a balance between that short form content that is like quick digestible stuff and the longer form that is much more on the teaching and coaching and learning side is a real key.
Well, and that's exactly it. Like the short form video is meant to be, I love talking about fishing, like content marketing is fishing, but it really is. And short form video is just a really nice piece of bait at the end of the hook. It's to bring people into the main attraction, which is the longer form video. But the short form video, it just hits people, and sometimes I'll be scrolling through and I'll see a creator's video and it doesn't really hit me, but then another one of theirs does, and I watch it, or maybe I watch it 2 times, and then they show me more of that content, and then I can decide if I want to follow it or not. And I think that's what it's really great for. It's like leaving little breadcrumbs for people to find their way to the main act and really learn from you and engage with you. But it's tough, right? Because you got to have that hook. You got to get them right away, because we all have attention spans of water fleas at this point. And so if there's not something interesting in the first 3 seconds might even be generous,
Yeah. Well, I think it's also, we have to hook them really quickly, but then we also have to recognize that it's a long game, right? Because if you are in this work of entrepreneurship, right, your catalog, it is the key. It's a long game to get you there. It's a short game to attract people quickly, but you're going to have to be in it a minute. You're going to have to commit. You're going to have to stay. Not everything is going to happen for you in the first, 90 days, in the first 30 days, in the first 6 months, right? You may find that you're creating all this content and then something really hits, right? And the next thing you know, you skyrocket up. So I think that there's this sense that if you don't get everything immediate, that you're doing something wrong. And that's actually not the case. You just have to be committed to taking little steps every day to put stuff out there and to learn to be yourself on camera and to get comfortable with it and just accept that sometimes you're going to show up and say something stupid and sometimes you're going to be brilliant and some people are going to love it and some people aren't, and all of that's okay.
Exactly, because even when you think you're sounding
Some people,
brilliant,
and people like the stupid sometimes. Who cares, right?
well, and even if you think
Maybe
you sound,
the stupid is the brilliance.
or vice versa, you might
Maybe
think
it
you're
is.
sounding stupid, but people think you're brilliant, and then when you think you sound brilliant, other people think you sound stupid. So you might as well just be yourself anyway, right? Because there's no win in that battle anyway. Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and especially engaging with transitioning teachers, which is your main, bread and butter right now, which is great because, teachers are amazing, wonderful people that can actually save the planet, who deserve to get paid more and have more rewarding and fulfilling lives and feel valued, right? Outside of getting awesome hugs from kids and stuff, right? I wanted to be a teacher for a very long time. I'm actually certified to be a preschool teacher for special needs kids. But it's just a very different road. And so I would imagine these teachers that are coming out of that and looking for some guidance, I would imagine watching your videos is very comforting because you're explaining things and you're speaking to them directly. And you make sense in a world that's like, click here and do this, and you don't have a bat. And they're like, I don't even know what those things are. But meanwhile, you're just showing up talking to them. And I would imagine that's having a lot of...
and they're kind of like hype videos for teachers. Just like, you do have value. Here's how you can have value as a teacher. Well, a lot of it's like, here's how your values as a teacher translates to a lot of other things in life. You're not just stuck in a classroom. The things that you do in a classroom are things you're able to do that a lot of other people can't do in the real world. I shouldn't say real world, because teaching is the real world, but like outside of
the classroom,
education.
Yeah, I think teachers forget that. Well, I don't know if forget's the right word, but I think they don't quite realize how all of the skills and it's one of the many things I love about them, is all of the skills that they have developed to do the work that they do. So many of them are directly translatable to entrepreneurship, right? Without much effort. And when you are starting a side business, being able to draw from what you know how to do and then sell it to the people that you already have in your network is key. And for teachers, they have all of that stuff that's right at their fingertips. And so I think it's important for them to understand that there is this other opportunity to use those skills and that they are so valuable outside of the classroom. And especially as somebody who really cares about helping people know that they matter, right? Like, and I like, that's like the key to almost everything I do is like under that mission is that whatever you want, whoever you are, however you show up, you fucking matter. Right. And I think teachers get so beat up. They're constantly told to fit a mold. They're constantly told they have to do more. They're constantly told they're not doing enough. And so I want to say, well, fuck that. You are enough. You are doing enough. And everything that you have can immediately earn you more money and allow you to take back your time freedom, take back your emotional and mental health, own who you are and what you want to do. So you don't always have to be, subject to a system.
You're going to single-handedly take down the education system because all the teachers are going to quit and come and work with you instead. Just kidding. We're not advocating for that, people. I love it.
No, we are definitely not.
I love it. Well, and it's always surprising how unorganized people are in business. So I think teachers could actually help clean things up a little bit, Goodness. Okay, so we talked about what platforms you're using. I'm very curious about TikTok. You said you just started using TikTok. So let's talk about that. Like, are you seeing some results from that? Because I have a client who just started using TikTok a month ago and has a video with like 150,000 views. And she's got like 20 videos up total. So
Yeah, no, we are not having that kind of traction yet. But we would love to, and connect me with her, and maybe we can see how we can have that kind of same impact over there. I think that... We're slowly but surely learning what is working there, and it's not always the same thing that's working elsewhere, right? And so we're trying to figure out how to be efficient Because one of the things that we don't want to do is that we don't want to have to be creating brand new content on every channel, because it's just way too difficult to do. So we're looking at what is the content we're already creating, how do we repurpose it the best that we can on the channels that we are focused on primarily, and then when we have to create something new, then we can create something that suits another platform a little bit better. But we also want to make sure that I'm not spending 100% of my time creating content all the time, because then that doesn't leave us time to actually serve the community that I want to be serving. So TikTok is a bit of a learning curve as we're going in, learning what works. I mean, most often the things that work all the time, no matter where we are, is these what to say whens. I have a series of videos where I script, right? Like I give people scripts to common challenges or problems, and so, or bad behavior, like how to respond to it with, in some sort of appropriate way. And then I also give the snarky way to respond,
which I love.
So those always do well on all platforms, but we're trying to figure out the TikTok thing right now, and we haven't quite figured it out yet.
Well, I'll send you to her channel and make an introduction. She does some coaching. You would like her, Gina Malakan Long. She's a badass. She doesn't take any shit from anybody, and she does amazing stuff. And she's all about kind of reclaiming your life and deciding what you want to do. It's very similar. There's a lot of synergy there, so I'll definitely introduce you guys. But yeah, TikTok is interesting, and we talk about TikTok a lot because we're on the fence, right? Because I think it can get tremendous results, no doubt. Like there's a ton of attention arbitrage to be had on TikTok. But I know that TikTok is getting banned, and more governments, and like half the states now, like 26 states have it banned in the government offices. And I think that that's going to grow, right? So it's also a question of like what platform. So you touched on it. You don't want to have to create special content for each platform, because when one of them drops, which inevitably they will, right? Like we all learned how to code on MySpace. Mm-hmm. And here we are, right? Friendster, Napster, all that stuff.
I miss my top friends list.
I know, my top 8. Your mom, I used to have a shirt that said...
Nothing caused more drama. Nothing caused more drama.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I used to have a shirt that said, your mom's in my top 8. Like, ridiculous, right? So, but, these platforms do change. So the idea of, leveraging one piece of content on multiple platforms versus creating content for each platform, I think makes a lot of sense. So it'll be interesting to see. What have you seen, from other than the what to say if this happens? What else are you seeing? Are you getting more engagement on different platforms? Are you getting more discovery calls booked? Where are you seeing the most traction?
Yeah, most of our most traction comes from LinkedIn by far, and really, the what to say whens do the best on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, but our educational content does the best on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And also just the personal stuff, right? Like when you actually tell your own story, when you relate what you're doing to who you are and your own story, all of that kind of stuff always gets the most play, whether in written or video. At least that's what we're finding. Right. And I think regarding what you're saying about TikTok, I think it's important to realize that what matters most is you picking and committing to whatever platform you use, right? That matters more than anything else, because a lot of times people get distracted by the trends. And so then they start following trends, right, and they get completely, turned around in that process, right? So what matters is picking something, sticking with it, and then committing to it day in and day out and being consistent about it. It isn't actually that complicated. And a lot of times all this stuff gets way too complicated. It's just like starting a business is not complicated. Doing this stuff is not complicated. Just show up. Put a camera in your face and show up and post it.
Just do it.
Right. Like just start there. That's all you have to do.
Agreed. Because it'll be bad.
But do it again.
But it'll get better.
And again. And again.
Yeah. And it'll just get better every single time. And then you'll look at your old videos and be like, oh God, burn that. But whatever, you'll be better now. So it doesn't matter, right? Like I was looking at some of the content we produced in 2016 when we first started doing the factory floor sessions and stuff at the old One Love Massive building, and God, they were terrible. But the last ones we did were really good, right? And that's just the learning curve. You can't get better at it until you do it. And I think there's ways to be smart too. Like we have services where you come in for an hour and then we make 20 videos from that 1 hour session, right? Like there's ways to work around. If you're like, I'm not like me, I don't want to be on camera every single day. So I do better too. Like put me in a studio video for an hour. I'll give you tons of gems, and then I have a month's worth of content. But I don't want to be on camera every day. And you don't have to be, but you need to have video going out consistently. But that doesn't mean that you need to do it every day. So I think being really smart about how you create content is a big part of the long game. Otherwise, you will burn out, right? It's like people that have podcasts and they're like episode 356, and I every time I'm like, bro, why? Like, well, you know what I mean? Why 356 episodes? Like, I don't know, man. And then that's like always the first part of the sentence. It's like episode 356, but it's like that doesn't really. I love it. That doesn't really give the value that I think people think that it does. Like, sure, you're consistent, but you're more proud of your consistency than the value that you're bringing. So I think there's like there's a line there, right? Of like showing up, but not just for showing up's sake, right? Like actually produce some value, provide some value, teach people something. And then I think it's better to sit back and look at the data and not just do things in perpetuity, because that's what you do, especially if they're not working. And I think as entrepreneurs, it's really, especially if you've had any sort of trauma or abusive situations or dysfunctional situations in your life, it's really easy to keep doing things that are comfortable even when they're not working, right? And that can spill over in your entrepreneurial life sometimes, where it's like, it's not the best thing to do and it's not even working and you're killing yourself to do it, but you just keep doing it anyway, right? So...
Right. Or you're looking at what everybody else is doing. And so you're defining what you should be doing based on what everybody else is doing. And so it is this process of figuring out, like, who am I and what do I have to say and who do I serve, right? Like figuring that out for yourself. And yes, there's interesting tactics that you can learn. And yes, there's some trends that have some value. But at the same point in time, it's really, what do you have to say and who do you have to say it to? And then the commitment thing, it isn't about having to do like 15 pieces of content every day. I think people sort of get that wrong, right? Like they think that commitment means more, that they have to do the most. No. It just, if you're just posting once a week, rock on, but post once a week. Like, don't just post once a week and then like be gone for 3, right? Like it's about that consistency and being committed to that process, whatever it is.
You know, it's interesting. I was listening to a like fitness person, and they were saying, I was listening to this podcast, and she was saying that with her clients, she has people go to the gym, even if it's for 5 minutes. Like, even if all you can do is walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, like you don't even break a sweat, right? If that's all you can do, that's fine, do it. But go to the gym every day, because it's actually the act of going to the gym and not showing up and running a mile or 5 miles every single time, but the consistency of it, the commitment to yourself. And I think that's exactly it, right? So it's not about doing the most. Yeah. It's just about doing it.
It's not just because it's working for them doesn't mean it works for you. You are not them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think that's one of the things that I really love about this process of entrepreneurship is that it does combine this personal development and professional development in the same space, because you are confronted with your shit, right? When you're doing entrepreneurship, because especially even, like someone, me, who comes out of some pretty highfalutin sort of roles and stuff like that, where you're kind of the bomb at the thing you were doing. And then you jump into an entirely new space. It's a humbling environment where you got to learn some shit. You got to try, you got to figure stuff out. You got to test and retest it, and I like that, right? Like, I'm attracted to that kind of stuff. But it is this interesting, merging of professional and personal development, which I think is pretty wicked cool.
Sorry, my dogs are chewing on pieces of glass. Don't mind me. But, I know one of the things that I love the most, and I've repeated this a few times since I heard you say it, is people talk about failing and you got to fail and try again and all that. And you said it's not failure, it's testing and retesting. And I thought, that's exactly how people should look at it. It's not failure, it's testing and retesting. You tried something, you tested it, it didn't work. You're going to retest it in a different way until it does work. And I love that. I love the framing of that. And I think that's one of the smartest things I've ever heard. And I hope more people take that to heart, whether it's creating video or leaving your teaching profession or starting a new business or anything. And there's no failure. It's just testing and retesting. I really love that. I really love that.
I appreciate you say that because I think the words we use matter, right? And I think that we spend a ton of time trying to teach people to reframe what the word failure means and say, no, failure is good. It's good. It's like, no, failing sucks, right? Let's not try to it is a word that sucks. When you fail, it sucks. So as opposed to trying to teach people how to redefine a freaking word that everybody already knows what it means and feels shitty, how about we actually talk about what the process is? It's not about failing and succeeding. It's not about winning and losing. It isn't. I know everybody says it's a game and everybody's like, we use a lot of like either sports metaphors or war metaphors, which is another thing I don't like about the entrepreneurship space is that we use a lot of violent metaphors, right? But, quite honestly, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, the language of business is a very male-dominated space. But when we think about the work we're doing, what we're actually doing is trying things out. We are trying things out to see what works. And once we know what works, we can settle on them. So we're testing and then retesting.
Exactly.
And would you please stop growling at the guy?
I know
on the street?
mine's like crying at the door over something too. But
I know. This dude has developed his man bark recently, and so he's very proud of the man bark.
He's very cute. He looks like a big JoJo, actually.
Yeah.
I realized that the other day. I was looking, I was like, that's a big JoJo. Well, on that note, yes, test and retest. It's like a scientist, or they build a robot and it tries to walk and it falls. They don't say, oh, it was a failure. They say, oh, well, let's pick it back up and change something and test it again. It's not a failure.
Right. What did I learn?
Testing and retesting.
Right.
So yeah, I love that we're finishing on that note because I love that. So thank you for spending some time with us today and sharing with us what you're doing with video. And, we will make sure all of your links are in the show notes below, your website and your channel, so people can check out your content. And if you are a transitioning teacher, then you should totally hit up Maryann because she's awesome. And like she said, she can teach you, ironic, she can show you how you can make all kinds of money with the skills that you already have. And if you want to get to know her first, there's a ton of video content for you to check her out and see what she's really like. If this interview hasn't already told you enough, you're my kind of people, Miss Maryann. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I appreciate it.
Always, always, always.
All right. Thank you, Motley. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. We'll see you at the mess hall for some Kool-Aid,